Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Get Awesome. And today is our inspiration call, the first Wednesday of the month. And I'm Jen Drakes, and I'm here with you with my wonderful co host, Coach Katie. Say hi, Coach
Everyone,
Katie.
thanks for joining us. If you're joining us live, please mention in the comments so we can recognize you and thank you for your participation. And also don't forget that at the top of the comment box to click on the StreamYard so we can and allow them access to your name, because otherwise all we're going to see is Facebook user with that blue head. So we won't.
Exactly.
Oh, no,
And it always puzzles us because we like the comments and then we're trying to figure out who it is. And we usually guess wrong. So well, today's show is about the accelerators, and that has been a word I've been using now for the past 3 months because it's in my title. My title is actually Life Strategist and Business Accelerator, so I've been using it since landing finally on what I call myself. So I am really excited about this topic, using accelerators to move forward. And in typical ULA fashion, which is what we put on the table each month, there's 7 of them. So Katie, do you want to have the honors of reaming them off, or should I?
go ahead and reel them off.
Okay, so I don't know if there's a particular order, but I'm going to reel them off anyway. I got my note here, but they're everything I love. So I can't wait to have this discussion. Wisdom, humility, passion, integrity, discipline, staying disciplined, love. Don't you love? And my all-time favorite, gratitude. So I'm going to pass it to Coach Katie to kick us into this discussion because every one of them I've got something to say about. So go on, Katie.
All right, so up to now, remember, we looked at how we were doing last year, our highs and our lows, and where we were on our goals. We did our ULA wheels, so we found out what areas maybe we were out of balance on. Then we set some goals, dreamed big, set some goals, and then we went to the ULA path, which is doing your oranges and your Skittles. And remember, your oranges are the things that are going to move you closer to your goals. And the Skittles are all those everyday things we all have to do: pay bills, laundry, change the oil, take the dog to the vets, all of that stuff. Last month, we talked about things that can get in your way. This month, we're talking about the accelerators, and these are the rocket fuel. These are the things that can help you zoom along, motor along, soar along to your goals. Now, you had them all, but I think you actually had them in reverse order.
Did I have them in? I knew gratitude was the number one. That one I knew, but I said, so I was supposed to go gratitude, love, discipline.
When you started reeling them off, I'm thinking in my head, she got them all, but she's got them in reverse order. I don't think it really matters. I mean, really, just as a side note, when we talk about the 7 F's of ULA, fitness, finance, family, field, faith, friends, and fun. Somebody once asked the ULA guys, were they in any particular order? Was there any meaning to that? And they told the story about, no, really not, that the way they did this was they put all the ones with 2 syllables or more up front.
Oh, okay.
And then the rest only have 1 syllable, so they could try and remember them all and could, get in the habit of being able to reel them off. Because when they first started this, they weren't named that. They had other names before they lighted on, the 7 F's. But anyway, so the first one is gratitude. So do you have an attitude of gratitude? Do you keep track every day? Do you write down things you're thankful for every day? And really, I think where a lot of people get stuck on this gratitude and writing them down is that you think it's got to be something big, that something amazing has to happen to you today. Well, no, not so. My list is filled with things like, I am grateful that I've got a washer and dryer in my house, that I don't have to go to a laundromat. I am grateful that I've got trash pickup. I am grateful this week that my trash people took my paint cans. And I put out my garage and had them all stacked by the curb. They weren't going to take them until I went out and asked them why they weren't going to take them. I said, they've all got kitty litter in them.
And just even, Katie, the basic thing, I can tell you, just getting out of bed every morning.
Oh, right.
I am grateful to get out of bed, that I woke up, and I'm grateful for seeing, as you know, I love my sunrises, to be able to even see the day rise up. And I'm grateful that I have feet that I can stand on to get from my bed somewhere else. So those are my three basic every single day. So you're correct. They do not have to be massive things. And I find when you are grateful for the small things, you actually see the bigger things more, and you're more grateful as well. So it's just about mindset and really honing in. And I think I left that for so the way I got it backwards is because I left the most important for the last, which I truly believe is gratitude. Really, if you don't have gratitude in your day every day for every little thing that happens, then yeah, you really need to start practicing that.
There are certain things that make my gratitude list every day. You know, first one is always God. Second one is I woke up.
Yeah.
You know, my animals are always on my gratitude list, my dogs. You know, sometimes it's great things, like, you know, like a bill was less than you expected it to be, or you're sitting down to pay bills and you actually can pay your bills that month. You know, so it doesn't have to be a massive thing. And another thing that you can do that I learned about from, of all people, Jenny McCarthy, and she talked about what she practices. She called red light gratitude. Mm-hmm. Because if you're like me, you get angry and irritated when you're driving at slow drivers who, you know, are not paying attention or on their cell phone, and they make you catch a light, and you know it's a long one, so then you're sitting there for 3 more minutes, and you can just feel the stress level rising. So what she does when she hits a red light is that she starts going through her gratitude list out loud while she's sitting at the light. And it makes you not get stressed, makes you not get, you know, ticked off at other drivers. And it takes your attention away from the fact that you're sitting at a red light. If you're going through, I'm grateful that I've got this car, mm-hmm. that I can go places. I'm grateful that I'm close to the grocery store, which is where I'm headed. I'm grateful that the post office is nearby and that I can mail letters to anywhere. You know, so you just go through. I'm grateful that I'm on my way to the gym and we'll see my friends and we'll get exercise. Whatever it is you're doing, right? I'm grateful mm-hmm. for dry cleaners. I'm grateful that, you know, I've got a bookstore, whatever it is. So I always try to do that. So I, you know, mute the radio, and then while I'm sitting at the red light, I start like, thank you, God, for this day. I thank you for the sunshine. You know, I thank you for the blue skies, whatever mm-hmm. it is. So the other thing about gratitude is to be grateful for all things, the good and the bad.
Absolutely.
Because there is always some kind of lesson to be learned from the bad, right? And he tells, Dr. Dave tells the story about his nephew who got cancer when he was like 17 mm-hmm. and had gone through surgeries and chemo and thought he was on the mend, and it came back. And well, he ended up passing away. But after he passed away, they found a letter this young man had written where he thanked God for giving him the cancer instead of his parents or instead of his younger brother or his younger sister. That he was grateful that he was the one that was chosen, which you think is, oh my goodness, 17 years old, and to have a heart that big and to be able to see and find a blessing in it. So you have to be grateful for all things. I know it's hard. And I know it's easy for me to sit here and say, you know, if something catastrophic happens, like you wreck your car or whatever, or somebody gets really sick, you know, find the good in that. Mm-hmm. But there is a lesson.
Yeah, I find if you're looking for it, you will find it. Right. It gets revealed if you're looking for it. If you're not looking for it, it passes you by, right?
Right. And you may not find it in the midst. You may be able to find it after. Mm-hmm. But you will find it, and you need to find it. You know, people that are grateful will attract other people. So if you have a complainer attitude, not only are you going to be dissatisfied with your own life because you're always looking for what's wrong. If you believe in God, if you are not grateful for what God has given you, why should he give you more?
But also, too, I find there's an attraction and detraction aspect to it, too. If you're a person that it does not actually show gratitude of any kind, and you whine and you complain and you always find the negative and you always find the bad thing to look at, you detract people away from you.
Right.
And while the other ones that are optimistic and are always, like that 17-year-old, they attract people to them. You know what I mean? So there's an attraction and a detraction, and that goes not just for people to people, it goes from the universe to you as well.
Right.
So your blessings will stay away because you're not going to appreciate them, right? Or
right.
So the universe believes, or whatever you believe in, right? Whether you call that God or whatever, but they're not going to think you're going to appreciate it, so they're not going to give it to you, right?
Well, if you don't appreciate what you have, why would you give them more?
Exactly. Why would they give you more? Exactly.
Because people are always seeking uplifting, happy, and I'm not talking about, and we're not talking about that phony, smile as if everything's wonderful, type of but it is a really deep, heartfelt sense of gratitude for all the blessings. And it may take you some time if you have a complainer attitude that you probably need to sit quietly and make a list of everything. And I did that, one day last month or so when I was just having a really awful day and was just like feeling sorry for myself and blah, blah, blah. I sat down and wrote about 55 things in my life that I was grateful for. The roof over my head, the clothes on my back, the food on my table, that I have family, that I have friends, that I have, dogs, and foster dog, whatever it is, you can go and you can make a list.
In my book, Aladdin Carpets, and this is not to make a plug, but in my book, Aladdin Carpets, I talk about gratitude, but I talk about it from the concept of G squared, or G to the power of 2. And that means there's 2 G's. I talk about gratitude and I talk about grace. And that gratitude is a subset of grace. And if you go deeper, it will hit one of the accelerators, humility. And I go on talking about all of those things. But I call it a G squared attitude. So every day when I get up, I look to have that G squared attitude. 1, give myself grace, right? Carry myself with grace and give others grace. Mm-hmm. And in there also show gratitude and show humility. But I know we'll come up and talk about humility, but I just wanted to talk because I see all those 3 things encompassed in the presence that you have. And that amounts to a graceful presence when you have gratitude, humility, integrity, and some of these accelerators.
Okay. Yep, I agree. Okay, next one up is love. Unconditional love.
Okay.
Do you love look at who you love in your life. Do you put conditions upon it? I'll love you if you make more money. I'll love you if you buy me this new car. I love you if you take this job so we can have more money. That's not love. That's not love. And also look at yourself. Do you love yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where it starts. That's where it starts. If you
don't love yourself, you really can't love others. And if you love yourself, you will attract others because if you love yourself, all of these other accelerators, I think, will flow through your life and you will attract like-minded people and you will find your tribe. Now, am I saying that if all this happens, your life is going to be perfect and everything is going to be rosy? No, because we're only human and everybody else we interact with is also only human. So we're going to have misunderstandings. We're going to have accidents. We're going to have, bad things happen to us. But our attitude can determine and will determine how we come through all of this stuff on the other side. So, again, unconditional love. Look at who you love, and are you putting conditions on it? And do you love yourself?
And I find, Katie, if you lead with love, it really does shape your attitude overall. And I find then that, and I've discovered for myself, even applying this in my life, that you don't get angry very much. It takes a whole lot to anger you. It takes a whole lot to turn you into that, like, the beast side of who we all could be. We all have it. But I find you distance yourself quite a bit when you lead with love, both for meeting new people, both for yourself, being able to have a big enough heart to encompass people of all levels, all races, all creeds, all mindsets, determining who you can, truly hang with, and who you can, and you attract love as well, right? You attract that coming back. So I think there's a number of things that cascades from that whole love thing.
I agree. You attract what you put out. So if you put out love, you will attract love.
Absolutely.
Next one is discipline. And there's that cliche of what the lazy want, the discipline get. So think about where in your life you maybe need some more discipline. And this is something, that I will struggle with from time to time, and have to stop and look. And, one of the things about using, the note cards is to discipline yourself to do this every day. And it is a discipline, and I very rarely miss a day. And I very rarely will take a day off from doing it. Like Easter, I took off. Christmas Day, I think I took off. But again, if you have to decide what you want in life, how much do you want it, what's it going to take to get there, and then you've got to chip away at it day by day by day. Again, with small, achievable goals, so you can have a sense of accomplishment each and every day, no matter if it's one thing on your list, two things on your list, three things on your list, or, some days I may have 5 things on my list. But if you can get those accomplished, that's just sort of like the fuel to keep going, because you've accomplished it, and you can believe in yourself, and you can trust in yourself, right? And again, the other thing is, and we talked about this a while ago, is to, think of the marbles, right? Where you take marbles, and these are marbles, these are little glass beads. But, in the US, women live to an average age of 81. So you take 81 marbles, and then you split them into how many have passed and how many you have left.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of a visual representation of your life. That, as my mother would say, once in a blue moon, I need to shag ass.
Okay, I've never heard that before. What does that mean?
Move it, hurry up.
Well, okay.
And my mother was definitely not a cusser, and I think, in my entire life I may have heard her say that twice.
Mm-hmm.
But again, so think of the marbles, right? Think of, your oranges and Skittles, and think about what you want. And if it's something that you keep putting off, then maybe that's not something that you really want, right?
And does discipline have an aspect, Katie, of self-control as well? Is that all part of the discipline thing? Not just discipline to get things done, but also disciplined in self-control.
I don't think it never specifically that. I mean, they talk about things like successful people or average people with discipline, that, we all want a shortcut. And for a lot of our dreams, there is no shortcut.
Right.
It's hard work, and it's daily work. And it's, again, the chipping it away step by step, to move yourself forward. So you have to decide, maybe your goal is not really a goal you want, or maybe the goal that you have, you're trying to rush it, and they say eat an elephant one bite at a time. So maybe look at what the goal is and have you broken it down enough to where you can experience success. Look, this is all simple. It's not necessarily easy.
Yeah.
But you can make it easier on yourself by not going into this saying, I'm going to lose 50 pounds by like July 1st. Well, here it is, June the 2nd, right? We're on June 2nd.
Yep, June 2nd.
June 2nd. That's not going to happen. So you're setting yourself up from the get-go to fail, and you'll be 2 days in and you will have lost all your discipline. And you would have just, totally just brushed it off by the wayside. It's like New Year's resolutions that people make.
Yeah, those are definitely a good example of that. Yeah.
Like totally forgotten, So, again, what the lazy want, the discipline get. So you just have to ask yourself, remember laziness is one of the blockers. Okay, our next accelerator is integrity. And the definition of integrity is the quality of being honest and having moral principles. Now, ULA looks upon this as integrity is keeping your word with others and keeping your word with yourself. If you don't keep your word with yourself, you stop believing in yourself, you stop believing in your own word, you lose your confidence because you can't trust your own word. Anything to add there?
Well, words speak louder than actions. That's the way I say it. Or actions speak louder than words, actually. So I look to make sure those two things align. And as I said, I take everybody as they come, but I let them show me who they are. And one of the key aspects of that is your actions matches your words, and your words match your actions. Right? If they get out of sync, then I become wary. And I think most people do, even whether they say it or not. I think they see those types of disconnect. So I think integrity is an absolutely crucial part. And sometimes in life we meet people who are willing to live life without integrity. It's shocking when you encounter it, but to each their own. But two wrongs also don't make a right. So just because you might have encountered a person with low integrity does not mean you become like that. Either you stick to your values, stick to your thing. So I think it's just an important character piece. And it certainly drives who stays in your life. You know what I mean?
Right.
It drives who stays with you.
All right. Because we all want somebody who says, if they say they're going to do something,
they do it.
Or with you, that they do it, right?
Yeah.
So again, with the integrity of yourself, why should you be any different, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you expect other people who tell you they're going to show up, whatever it is, like show up to go out for an evening of fun, or show up to help you do something, or show up to take you to a doctor's appointment, and they don't, how many times are you going to let that be done to you before they sort of get removed from your circle?
Mm-hmm.
By the same token, because you don't want, because it's like the golden rule, because you don't want that done to you, don't do it to others, and don't do it to yourself either.
Right.
Keep your word to yourself. Is equally important. The next accelerator is passion. We are born with passion.
Yes. Children
are passionate, right? You watch children at play, right? Watch them pretend that they're the princess, or they're the cowboy, or they're the cops and robbers, or
they go all in.
Right. They go all in, and they are so excited, and they truly believe it, and they want you to come in and share it with them. I mean, they're born with it. Well, then we get beat up by the world, right? This goes back to that thing we've been talking about all the time, that inner voice. We get told by other people, and it starts early in our lives, right? You can't do this. You can't do that. You're not smart enough, pretty enough, tall enough, short enough. You're too fat, you're too skinny, whatever it is. And we internalize that, who do you think you are to write a book? Who do you think you are to, want to be an actor? Who do you think you are that you can sing? And so we lose that passion. We are on what they call the hamster wheel of life, right? A lot of us are, right? We go to a job we can't stand. We're going home to a spouse we're at odds with. We sit on the couch all night and watch Netflix, and binge watch series, and we eat and we gain weight and we don't care about our fitness. We don't care about our health. Our kids are driving us crazy, and we call that our life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not our life. We need to rediscover our passion. And that's why part of ULA with the ULA bus and the dream stickers is for you to rediscover what lights your fire.
Mm-hmm.
What is that dream that you have? And it doesn't matter if somebody a long time ago or last week or this morning told you to stop being stupid and get your head out of the clouds or whatever it was they said. They're not you.
Mm-hmm.
Your dream is not their dream, right? So, if you want an ULA life, passion is your gas, right? Passion is that fuel that can rocket you forward. Passion is what, Jen knows this. Passion is what gets you up early, makes you sleep the wee hours. Passion is everything. Without passion, look at all the stuff we wouldn't have. The Sistine Chapel, right? Shakespeare's plays.
Oh.
We wouldn't have, any of the art, any of the, the paintings, the drama, music, health in the health field. If we didn't have doctors and researchers that were driven by a passion to try and cure disease, we wouldn't have the cure for polio. We wouldn't have, all the cure for pneumonia. We wouldn't have any of this stuff.
Those things.
Any of the medicines that we have now, if people were not, to a large extent, driven by passion, even if they wanted the money at the end, they were still driven by passion to show up day after day and, put in the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what gives you that spark? What in your life could you do if money was not an object, right? If you didn't have to worry about bills, if you didn't have to worry about everyday life, what would drive you, right? What do you love doing?
But this brings us now to the discussion of disconnect, right? Because a lot of people have become so disconnected from themselves that a lot of them can't answer that question any longer, right? It takes a lot of soul searching, a lot of, resolving all sorts of things to be able to answer that question, Katie. So even though it seems like a very simple one, and what's sad is we, as you said at the very beginning, we as human beings are indeed passion oriented, pleasure oriented individuals. And when we get disconnected, we subside that piece of who we are. And some life circumstances subside it. And then we lose touch. So when you say to somebody, what are you passionate about? There's dead silence. And I think it's a hard question for many. It's not an easy answer for those, who find it. My goodness, be grateful. Be grateful that you know what it is. But for a lot of people, they don't. And it becomes one of discovery. So,
well, I watched this ULA clip, and it was from back when they were on the road with their ULA bus, and so they're in the bus, and Dr. Dave is got his cell phone out for some reason, he's videoing it, and they see this guy on the side of the road who's waving them down, and so they decide they'll pull over and talk with this guy. And he wanted to know what they were doing and what was all the, what's up with the bus that's got all the stickers on it. And Dr. Troy is telling them, we collect dreams. And, what's your passion? What's your dream? And the guy couldn't really answer it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they sort of walked him through some stuff. And, they suggested that maybe he do one on faith, that he, rediscover his faith. And through his faith, he will find his passion.
Right.
And the guy was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know that, that again, I'm not, all rose colored glasses and everything, because I know that for some people life is hard
Yeah.
and has been hard, and that people have gone through awful things, you know, and struggle every day. But like Jen said, it may take a while to rediscover your passion, you know, and you may have to go to your childhood. One of the things that, Ula recommends is go back to your childhood. When you played, what did you like to play? When you were a kid, before somebody, forget about what somebody told you, right? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Mm-hmm.
To start from there and look at things. And sometimes it can be something as simple as, if you have a hobby, what's your hobby? Some people have a hobby of making quilts or something. Well, okay, that can be your passion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could you start a business making quilts? It really doesn't matter. Some people like to, build model trains. Could you build a business around that? Jen's right. For some folks, you've forgotten how to dream. So,
but the thing is, Katie, I strongly, strongly believe that everybody owes it to themselves. To as difficult as it may be, no matter how long it takes, we all owe it to ourselves to rediscover and reconnect to find out what we're passionate about, and really then bring those things into our lives in a bigger way. And we'll find that our lives, as this thing is titled, accelerators, it will accelerate. But we owe it to ourselves. That's the thing. That's the message I have. Is, yeah, it might be difficult, but you owe it to yourself.
Well, and I think, and then the secondary thing is, once you discover that passion, again, like all of these, has a ripple effect.
Yes.
On the other areas of your life, on the other people around you. One of the things they say is, what gives you that spark? What gets you excited?
Yeah.
Right? So if you're looking at your goals, maybe you need to shift some of your goals. Look, once your goals are written, when you worked on your goals, if you worked on your goals, if you haven't, please work on your goals.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not locked in stone, right? Because if you discover that something else has happened in your life, or you thought of something else, or your focus has shifted, you can change those goals at any time.
Yeah.
They got to be tattooed on you for the rest of 2021. Right? So if you sit and be still and listen to yourself and listen to your heart, and you remember something that you enjoyed doing, or you remembered a dream that you had, and you find that's not in your goals, then shift your goals.
Yeah.
Shift it by all means, because you want that passion, you want that spark, you want that excitement, you want something that's going to get you up in the morning, no matter what else is going on in your life. You want something that's going to help propel you forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the key is, working on finding that. All right, moving along. Humility is the next accelerator. Stay humble enough to stay in this process. Stay humble enough to do, to trust the process, trust the framework. Again, every day is not going to be a banner day. Every day, is not going to be where you tick off all 7, 8 things on your list, right? You may have a day where you're struggling to get the 2 things on your list, but trust the process, right? Remain grateful, and remember what they say. While everything we've been talking about has to do with you, right? Your year in review, your wheel, your path, your plan. Remember, it's not all about you.
Well, this is it. And for many of those people that are in corporate settings, trust me, they don't always see a lot of humility, right? Because I find in corporate, you're heavily plagued right now with a lot of egos, and sometimes it just shakes your head. So when you're in those types of environments, sometimes that's where the grace comes in again. And you be the humble one. You be the one that is, that's carrying that presence of humility around, and hoping it ripples out to others, right? Because it's calming. Humility is calming.
Well, when I was working, we had the man who was at that time, and I've been gone for 2 years, 3 years now, so I don't know if he still is, but he was from England, and his catchphrase was, "Remember to stay humble and hungry."
Yes.
Stay humble, stay hungry.
Yeah.
So you've got to ask yourself, are you thinking that you're better than other people because you have a cooler car, you have a bigger house, you're better looking, you've got more money? Well, that's not humility. I don't even want to say what that is. So ask yourself, where can I serve others?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where can I serve others? Where can I give back? Right? Even though I may not have much, and there are a lot of people out there, a lot of people who have nothing, but still
have humility. Yes.
Still have humility, still manage to serve, still manage to give back. And look, when I say serve or give back, I'm not necessarily talking about money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about, it can be money, it can be time, it can be grace, like you say, Jen.
Yeah.
It can be love, it can be compassion, it can be understanding, it can be forgiving. It can be any one of a number of things that you can give back to others and you can serve others.
Yeah.
So remember,
and the other side of the E word, like we use the ego word, but the other side of it too, related to humility in my mind, is pride. Right? Let the pride go and be humble.
It's not about. They said it's not just about you. So get cocky.
Yeah.
In Dr. Dave's story about how he had ULA and then he lost it, he said, "I lost it because I got cocky."
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I have it all, right? I'm making all this money. I got $1 million home. I've got 5 kids. We're in this huge house. I got a great practice. I'm rocking it, right? And he lost his focus on the goal setting and on his little steps and everything. And before he knew it, he was bankrupt. He was in the process of a divorce. He was living in a motel on the bad side, living in a cheap ass motel on the bad side of town. And he said, because I forgot about humility and I got cocky.
Yeah.
I thought I had it all. The last one is wisdom.
Wisdom.
We want wisdom. There are 2 ways to gain wisdom in your life, right? One is to gain wisdom by your own mistakes, your own wins, your own losses, basically your own successes, failures, and experiences.
Your lived experiences.
So you gain wisdom by your own actions. You gain wisdom by doing, right? So take actions, take risks. Wisdom comes from our wins and our losses.
Absolutely. More from our losses than our wins, to be quite honest.
Right. And our missteps. Like Edison said, he learned 10,000 ways not to invent the light bulb.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, who were I'm sure this thinking myself because I haven't followed baseball in forever. And no, I was not alive when Babe Ruth was playing. But you've got to think about how many times they struck out as well.
And they adjusted. They just learned the lesson, adjusted, kept going till they got it perfect.
Michael Jordan talked about how many times he practiced every single day throwing free shots, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like he just came out the once or twice a week, right?
No, he never left till he shot 500 shots. Minimum. Yeah.
I was reading in a book today about some baseball player who I'd never heard of, but he practiced his swing 600 times a day with a weighted bat.
Mm-hmm.
So, over the course of how many years he was in professional baseball, I mean, he just didn't do it at spring training. He did it every night.
Yeah.
So we win. Okay, the other way
one thing that shows as well, Katie, those same examples show passion.
And
those
discipline.
same examples, is passion, discipline, and all of these same things.
All the accelerators, and these people were successful.
Yes.
The way you gain wisdom is by mentors, right?
Absolutely.
And is an in-person thing. or it's a books, or it's a video, or it's a TED Talk, or, that is another way to gain wisdom. So you've got it, from your own experiences, your own successes, and your own, I'm going to use that word we hate, failures, your own losses, or you gain it from having mentors.
And I think also you from having mentors, but mentors too outside of your typical environment. I think that to challenge yourself to go beyond your own boundaries is also very enlightening, right? Because you learn a lot of things from that. And the other way to get wisdom in my mind is also sitting and talking with the elderly. Oh my gosh, the knowledge, the nuggets you can get from the elderly just by having a conversation is awesome. So those are some other ways to also uptake your knowledge and your wisdom.
Right. Absolutely. And, and I think so many of us, when your grandparents are gone or your parents are gone, you may have a sense of regret that you didn't really ask them the questions about, particularly now, think about the Depression and World War II, and what was it like to live through that? Well, those people are dwindling, and the Holocaust, and that's why Israel and places such an emphasis on finding these people and getting their testimony about what that was like, and capturing it on film. So the succeeding generations, while they may not be able to sit down in person with these people, can watch these things and can learn what that experience was like, what the horror was like, what the trauma was like, what it was like.
Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. We're through our 7.
and then we did it actually in record time. So this is fantastic. Now, before we wrap up, what is the guide? What do you want people to do between now and our next call, the accountability check-in? To what are they going to be doing, Katie? So tell them about that.
I would like you to go through these 7, and again, remember: gratitude, love, discipline, integrity, passion, humility, wisdom. So look at those areas and think about, where am I strong in that? Really, I would think, look, I'm going to take a page from your Seeds of Worth.
Okay.
Growth. Start a gratitude journal. At the very least, start a gratitude journal. And I'll make it a little easier on you than they've made it on us. I'm going to say, start finding 3 to 5 things every day that you can be grateful for. And remember, it doesn't have to be some manna from heaven, some miracle that occurred. No, you can be grateful that you woke up. You can be grateful that that you managed to get your kids out the door and into the car to get them to school on time for once, right?
Yeah.
Grateful that you hit all the green lights on the way to school.
That you can dress and bathe yourself. It is something to be grateful about.
If you're struggling for things, right? If you're struggling for things, then look, I have my health, right? I have my eyes to see. I have my ears to hear. I have my mouth, I can speak. I have my nose so I can smell things. I have my taste so I can taste the food. I mean, some of the people that have gone through COVID that have lost their sense of smell and taste now know how bereft that must be to not be able to smell and taste anything. So for those of us that are not experiencing that and are not going through that, be grateful for those things, because the people that are going through that are saying, man, I wish I could taste something. Man, I wish I could smell my food. Man, I wish I could, smell my baby's head. Man, I could, whatever it is. So again, 3 to 5 things every day. And it doesn't, I keep this book by by my side at my desk. So as things occur to me during the day, I open it up and I write them down. So I'm not at the end of the day trying to go back through my day and trying to remember,
Mm-hmm.
what do I have to be grateful for today? I mean, like today, it was, mine says, so far says, God, I woke up. CVS Caremark, which is my prescription program. So my prescription that I went to have to pick up my refill was only $3.47. I am so grateful for that program. Right? I'm grateful for Books A Million because I got some new books and I got to pick up, my favorite coffee, a mocha. Right? So I'm grateful that I live like a mile from Books A Million. Right? I'm grateful for books. I'm grateful for this program. I'm grateful for Jen Drake's. I'm grateful for my 3 dogs that I have, 2 of my own and my foster dog. So, I mean, it's just, so you can see, it's just like little things like that. Today I was thinking I was grateful for indoor plumbing. Yesterday I was grateful that I had trash pickup and they took my paint.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you were struggling, go back to that I have a heart that beats, right? That I have that hands that I can, that I can write, that I can hold a book, that I can stir a spoon, that I can, some days mine's coffee, right? When I take that first sip of coffee in the morning and I'm sitting down on my screen and deck, I'm thinking, oh, thank you, God, for this day. I'm really grateful for the screen and deck that I get to enjoy in the mornings. I'm grateful that it's not 90 some degrees and that the mornings are still cool and I can sit out here with my dogs and my coffee, and do a Sudoku puzzle, the little things. It is
So Katie, you want them to go through each one of those 7 accelerators and figure out how it applies in their life?
Yes, and the actual to do thing is to start your gratitude.
Okay, the first primary thing is the gratitude journal.
Gratitude for 3 to 5 things. You can do it on a note card. You can do it on a scrap piece of paper. It doesn't have to be some fancy little notebook. You don't have to go and buy some fancy, pretty little thing. No, just find 3 to 5 things, and then go back through these things and think about on wisdom. Do I need? What lessons have I learned? Do I need some mentors? And you can think about for the mentors, think about the 7 F's, right? If fitness is a struggle of mine, right? Can I think of a mentor that could help me? Do I have a friend that belongs to a gym, or do I have a friend that likes to walk or jog? Maybe I could reach out to them and ask them to help me, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's finance, do I have a particular friend or a family member that's really good at investing and stays on top of that and knows how to do all that stuff? Maybe I could have a sit down with them, right? And ask them to sort of mentor me. So, if you're stuck, and you want a mentor, just go through the 7 F's and think about who in your life, who in your circle of friends or your circle of acquaintances could fit that bill, and you could slot them a mentor in that area. And so the rest of it is to sit and be quiet and think about your passion. Right. And if you found your passion, write it down. And then you sort of go from there. Can I make money at this? What do I need to do? How can I inject more of this passion into my daily life? More joy into my daily life, which again goes back to gratitude.
Yeah.
Watch your words. So think about the integrity and watch your words, and watch the words of others in their interactions with you and what they promise you. And do they show up? Do they deliver? And do you show up and do you deliver on what you've said to others and to yourself? Basically, start with the gratitude, because
right.
I think gratitude will.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up. So we will be back here. You want to tell us when we come back to do the accountability?
June 30th.
June 30th. Okay. So June 30th at also Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back to do the accountability and to check in and make sure how you're doing about the gratitude. And if there's nobody there for us to check in on, Katie and I will continue talking, and we'll probably bring some examples of things that we have done as well related to this. So on that note, we are going to bid everyone a good night. And Katie, you want to please take us out in your usual wonderful way?
Yes, always remember, be grateful, have faith, and go get your ULA life. Thanks.
All right. Yes, thank you so much, everyone. And we are out of here. Okay, we will, so good night.
Good night.